So there's a pretty good chance you're deficient or someone in your family is. Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Brandon. I wanted to use this space as an opportunity to dispel some common nutrition and fitness myths. A little bit about me: I have my doctorate in clinical nutrition. I'm also a certified personal trainer. I've worked clinically in the hospital as a dietitian, and I currently coach clients through nutrition and fitness recommendations. One thing I was thinking about is that I'll often have clients or friends and family ask me if there was just one thing they can do to improve their health or nutrition. What would that be? So for me, the answer is pretty simple. When I look at the most common and largest deficiencies in diet, the answer would be fiber intake. And before you say, oh, here we go, or who cares about fiber? Well, really, you should care. And I'll tell you why. So over 95% or around that 90% mark of Americans are estimated to be deficient in fiber. So there's a pretty good chance you're deficient or someone in your family is. And it has a lot of different benefits in our body. So one of the first ones is for just weight loss. So similar to Ozempic or GLP-1s, it can delay gastric emptying. It causes a lot of bulk in your stomach. It also is one of the only nutrients to directly lower your bad or LDL cholesterol. It has another really nice benefit where it can steady your blood glucose or sugar increases. So typically when we have liquid sugars, juice, soda, honey, things like that, our blood sugar will more so spike. All the insulin is released, sugar goes into our cells, the blood sugar crashes, it causes all this havoc. When you have fiber, it's a more of a steady increase and more of a steady decline. And then one of the more indirect benefits is that the foods that have fiber often have a lot of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants that are so important for our immune strength, recovery, all of those good things. So when we ask how much do we need in a day, it varies for men and women. The typical recommendations for adult men are 35 to 38 grams, and for adult women, typically around 25 to 28 grams. Hopefully you can't hear the dog barking. And then there's a lot of different sources now. So if we're looking at whole foods, which is typically the preferred route, we would look at whole grains, vegetables, fruits. Now, although we eat a lot of processed foods as a society, there are some fortified foods now that make it a lot easier to get your fiber intake. So there's high fiber tortillas like the Mission brand Carb Balance. There's bagels, breads, all these different brands that make it a little bit easier. But in terms of supplements, I wouldn't really recommend a lot of the powders or gummies. A lot of the time, if you look at the nutrition label of the one you might have, it might have only 2 grams per serving. Now, if you need 25 or 35 a day, you're getting a tenth of your serving, if that. So it's not really a feasible option to get your daily fiber intake in. Now, for soluble versus insoluble, that used to be something that was separated on nutrition labels. Now, if you look at a nutrition label, it will almost always just say fiber on it. So the government doesn't really differentiate them too much for a couple reasons, but the big picture, the big factor here is having variety in your diet. So not having just one whole grain, one vegetable, and one fruit repeatedly, but mixing it up a little bit. So one of the golden rules in nutrition is diversity in color, variety in food groups. Each color in fruits and vegetables is usually a different mineral or vitamin or substance attached to it. So those are really helpful for making sure your body has everything it needs. For grains, it's typically recommended that at least half of your grain intake is whole grains. So things like oatmeal, brown rice, quinoa. They now have like whole wheat pastas, chickpea pastas. Although that's not technically a grain, it kind of satisfies that category as well. So I highly recommend increasing those food groups. And then if you're someone who's done keto in the past and you're worried about carbs, these natural foods with carbs don't have the same impact as cane sugar, as these processed sugars. Like I was talking about earlier, where fiber will more so regulate your sugar. These food groups are so filling, so nutrient dense, that it's very difficult to gain weight unless you are intentionally overeating on them. So In previous videos, I talked about how much 500 calories of fruit would fill your stomach physically. It would be a chore. You would be force feeding and not enjoy the experience if you were to eat that much of these food groups. Now, where it might get a little more difficult is if you're adding a lot of oil and empty calories to vegetables, grains, etc. Then it would be a lot easier to gain weight from those. But doing more minimal additions, like spraying a little bit of oil on, doing light coats, will be a good way of getting a lot of your fiber in without going too crazy on the calorie side of things. So yeah, that was really all I wanted to talk about for this time. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. You can leave any topic ideas for the future in the comments below. Be well, and thanks for watching. See you next time.